Good morning and welcome to TriVan Truck Body in Ferndale, Washington. This is Kason Van Driel, and I'm going to take you on a quick tour of this 40-foot prisoner transport vehicle that we've just completed and will be delivering this week to a customer in Nevada. It's a 31-foot body with 4 isolation cells at the rear, a general population area, and at the front, a separate section for 4 officers or 4 deputies. We'll take a look inside in a minute, but first let's take a look at some of the features outside of this spectacular rig. First, we'll look at the chassis. This is a brand new Kenworth. This is the first one we built with this new style cab, and our customer provided the chassis to us, and we worked with them to spec the engine and drivetrain. So this has a Cummins L9 engine, an Allison RDS Rugged Duty Service 3000 series transmission, and an aggressive rear gear. I believe it's 513, which gives it spectacular performance around town and up hills even when fully loaded. The body is all aluminum. Extruded aluminum panels is the main structural component, which gives it great strength and great durability. The rigs that we build at TriVan, and we build lots of specialty law enforcement vehicles like this, they're all designed to last a long time, even if they're always outside and even if they don't have any special care given to them. They're designed to stand up to years of abuse, and they'll keep looking good and keep functioning well. Again, it's all aluminum construction. This particular model is designed to be low in overall height and yet preserve standing height on the inside. The inside is also all aluminum construction, so we build the interior wall of aluminum lining, and then the isolation cells and partition walls are built of 1/8-inch aluminum sheet that's welded. So it's very strong. It's not something that's bolted together. And then the final detail on the interior, you'll see more of it in a minute, is that it's completely covered with a heavy application of polyurea or bedliner, which means it's very difficult to damage the inside even if you try. Sometimes video doesn't capture emergency lighting very well. You can see we've got Whelen emergency lighting at all locations. And at the rear, we've also got a scene light that illuminates when the door opens. And same thing on the right side here over the entry door. Midship turn lights. And then all around the vehicle, you can see that we've got storage compartments. And the storage compartments on the right side of the truck have these heavy-duty trays with 500-pound ball-bearing slides that can be used to store the belongings of the occupants inside the rig or whatever else needs to be stored. Slide them away and they're tucked away for good. Another noteworthy detail is at the rear of the truck, we've got this flip-out rear step bumper. So the main platform you can see there, but it's designed in such a way that the angle of departure is good for driving. So in other words, because it's so far from the rear center line of the axle, it will allow you to get in and out of steep driveways without having any interference. And if you need to use the rear door, it's really not intended as a primary entry door. It's really intended more as an escape route if necessary. And here it is with that rear bumper in the down position. Then you've got your primary entry door, as well as your secondary security door. That's for the safety of deputies using this vehicle, so that in case someone's coiled up inside ready to pounce, you'll know what they're up to. And then you can see inside. We'll go inside there in a moment. On the left side of the truck, we've got more underfloor storage compartments. And then the furthest forward one is where we store many of the house electrical components. So you can see we've got 2 12-volt batteries there. Those are what we call the house batteries. So those will operate the lights and any function inside the body so that it's completely separate from the chassis itself. Also, you'll see all the wiring necessary for the two individual air conditioning systems inside the rig. And those batteries, by the way, they charge whenever the engine is running of this vehicle. So whenever and if you would leave lights on in the rear, there's a battery separator there that keeps these batteries from drawing the chassis batteries down. So even if somebody would inadvertently leave the lights on in the rig, they wouldn't be able to kill the start batteries. Now that we're in the cab, we can see our driver's console, see that it's really very simple to use, and we've kept the electrical part of it very simple. There's a master disconnect by which you can disconnect all electrical loads from the house batteries. So you shut this off and everything shuts off in the back. The lights, any electrical draws. That way you'll never kill your house battery. Then you have a battery isolator here. So this is a switch whereby if you would kill your chassis battery for some reason, you could temporarily draw start power from the rear batteries if they're fully charged. Then you've got a switch for your flashers, your emergency lights. Then you have your wig wags on the headlights. Over here, we have an area at the rear we call officer lights. And you can control that light from here as well as in the officer area. And then you have the rear dome lights, which is the inmate area. And that can also be controlled from the officer area. Further, we have the outside scene lights, which can be controlled from here, and the step override. So if this switch is turned off, then when you open the side entry door, that rear entry step will not deploy, but otherwise it does so automatically. On the console, there's also two warning lights, one which tells you your step is down and one which tells you the side entry door is open. And then additionally, you've got your Whelen siren controller, which also has a built-in PA system. And you can speak to people outside of the vehicle using this microphone here. Additionally, there's a microphone here for the PA system in the body module in the back. You've also got two controllers for the air conditioning and heating system in the back. Each of these controls a separate system. And that means there's two compressors, two condensers, and two evaporators on this rig. We've also got cigarette lighter style power ports at the back here, a map light, and at the very rear of the console is the digital video recorder for the camera system. Now, this customer chose to have the camera mounted where the deputies can see it in the rear. So we'll look at that in a minute. And additionally, there's your rear view camera there with a separate feed. Let's take a look inside. Primary door, exposing the secondary security door for deputy safety. And note that this sticks nicely to that rear door, and it articulates on the same hinge, which means it can function as one door if you need it to. All aluminum construction inside this vehicle with a heavy application of polyurea. Attention given to 3 points of contact when you enter, so a good sturdy hand railing there. When you come inside, the first area to your right is the deputy area. So we've installed 4 deputy seats. The position of those is adjustable because of that airline track that we installed them to. There's 4 small lockers in there that are lockable. The air conditioning condensers. Inside this front deputy area, we've got 4 seats, cloth seats with plenty of room, and the position of those can be adjusted slightly because they're secured to airline track. 4 gun lockers that are lockable, light switches there, as well as the camera system or the monitor for the camera system. So the deputies that sit here can monitor what's going on inside the rear of the body module. Seen from the front of this space, you can see that there's an exit door that swings both ways. So this is also, it swings this way, so inmates can be directed when they enter the vehicle into the rear. And here you can see we've got Friedman seats, also secured on airline track, so the floor layout can be adjusted as needed. And this has capacity, by the way, the total vehicle has capacity for 38 inmates and 4 deputies in the front section, as well as the driver and another deputy in the front. So, airline track on the floor, shackle rings at the base of each seat. That's a customer option. There are grates or screens over the windows, so people outside can't see what's going on inside. Also, good volume air conditioning and heat ducting along the upper shoulders of each side of the rig. Good effort paid and attention paid to making sure there's good airflow inside of here, even at the far ends of that run. And then at the front corner here, we have also a camera connected to that digital video recorder. And then there's a removable wire raceway along each side of the entire interior. So if you wish to upgrade or change communications wiring or any other kind of wiring at some point, it's easy to do in this rig. Also, the entire interior is covered with a heavy application of bedliner. And you'll see there's floor drains in here as well. So you'd have to work real hard to damage this interior. And the material behind it is 1/8-inch aluminum. We've got a speaker mount or several speakers mounted along the center line of the ceiling. Plenty of good lighting for visibility inside here. You'll note that where there's a partition wall or for isolation walls, isolation cells, I should say, the doors, all of them have a plexiglass screen over the grate so that you've got it spaced away from the wall, which gives good airflow for the air conditioning system and still prevents anyone from getting spit in the face. Now let's take a look at these isolation cells at the back. Now we're standing at the back of the truck and the rear door is open. It wouldn't usually be, but here you can see 4 isolation cells. So these are a tight squeeze for 2 people, but that's what they're designed for. And again, the same thing, acrylic shield that's spaced away from the wall and then no acrylic shield at the bottom to ensure good return airflow. Then these doors are all built the same. They've got 3 different ways they can be locked. There is an initial slam latch just to get the door shut. Then there's a deadbolt here, as well as a padlockable hasp at the top here. They can choose to use padlocks here if they want, or just leave it as it is. And then, in addition to that, there's also a pepper spray port here, if necessary, and then a convenient grab handle here. Again, all 1/8-inch aluminum plate construction. Fabricated seat. No fasteners in here for an inmate to get their fingers around. Security camera, air conditioning duct, and that wire raceway that allows you to add wiring or update wiring anywhere in the vehicle. And it all closes with a slam. I hope that gives you a good sense of how we build our prisoner transport vehicles. They're really quite simple, very strong, and designed to give years of service. They're also very versatile. We consider them like a blank canvas. It's a rectangle that's 31 feet long by 8 feet wide and 6.5 feet tall. And inside of that space, you can configure it any way you want. We can put isolation cells down each side. We can have 2 general population areas. We can have isolation cells towards the front of the vehicle. It's really up to you. And any one of the rigs we build can be purchased using the Sourcewell national contract. So that's something that really reduces your administrative burden when you're buying something like this, and it's very convenient to use. So we can ask us if you'd like to know more about that. I'm Kason Van Driel. This is TriVan Truck Body. We build all kinds of specialty law enforcement vehicles, and we'd love to talk with you about any upcoming project you've got. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.